Man is back.
Oh, okay, boys. Oh my gosh, the ring got messed up. This is a 5 out of freaking 5.
It is beat making time.
Next week is E3 week. My album comes out next week.
I have the leopard.
This is your boy. All right, ladies and gentlemen of the YouTube citizens, y'all know who this is. This is your boy Dash the True Inferno. Back at it with another Pokemon Unite commentary video gameplay for you guys. And yeah, I apologize for missing last week. A lot was going on again. A lot's going on this week, but I gotta get out of the video because this weekend I'm going to Mexico. So yeah, that's gonna be fun. But we gotta talk about another company messing up. And I'm talking about Nintendo this time. Yeah, Sony got their issues. We gonna get to Sony again, but Nintendo's the one that messed up. So in case y'all haven't heard, check this out. So here's the title from IGN.com where they said the following. Nintendo shocks competitive fans with strict new community tournament guidelines. Yes. So basically they got rules for those who want to run tournaments featuring their games. I'm dead serious. So check this out. So here's the article. So before I get into the article, so everything that I'm about to read also applies to America. It's not just Japan. It's not just the United Kingdom. It's also America. So check this out. Nintendo caused a stir across its competitive fan base today. So this was back on October 24th when it announced new guidelines regulating community tournaments. The guidelines posted on both Nintendo's Japan and UK websites on Tuesday, and of course, eventually it was on the United States website, dictate the terms for not-for-profit, small-scale community tournaments, and then in parentheses, community tournaments, in parentheses, involving games for which Nintendo owns the copyright. So all that was quoted, by the way. The not-for-profit all the way to Nintendo owns the copyright. Everything I read in between that was copyrighted. Or not copyrighted, but in parentheses, or quotation marks, excuse me. Moving on. In short, these guidelines define the terms that organizers will have to follow in order to qualify as a small-scale event, allowing for them to function without an official license from Nintendo. So check out some of the highlights. So here we go. One bulletin. Community tournaments may not generate commercial revenue except as permitted by these guidelines. A cap of 200 participants in person or 300 for online tournaments. Organizers may not receive compensation from third-party sponsors and may not sell food, beverage, or merchandise. No prizes exceeding a market value of, okay, so it's like 4,500 to 5,000 pounds in total. So in America, that's $5,000. All right, moving on. No spectator fees for online tournaments. Organizers must publicly disclose all accounting relating to the cost of hosting the event promptly. Causing more confusion, the guidelines have only been shared on Nintendo's UK and Japanese websites, and again, in America's websites later on, and on Twitter/X accounts at press times, meaning they're likely only applied to those regions as of now. Again, they added the US later on. IGN has reached out to Nintendo America to see if, the answer to that is yes. Now let's move on. The organizers can still hold larger for-profit tournaments, of course, but those will require a license from Nintendo. As was pointed out on social media shortly after the announcement, this means that larger tournaments that have already obtained licenses should be in the clear. So there you go with that. Let's move on. Still, the immediate response highlighting the ongoing complicated issues between Nintendo and its competitor community, particularly among Super Smash Bros. Even licensed tournaments like last year's canceled Smash World Tournament Championships have faced extensive issues. Melee Pro X wrote on Twitter, I'm gonna call it Twitter, that the new guidelines are extremely concerning, especially for Melee tournaments in particular, where Nintendo might be more hesitant to hand out licenses for its 22-year-old game. And then, end quote, I'm scared for my life, end quote, X added. So, there you go with that. Moving on with a Redditor, with something Redditor said, we're going underground buckos. Back to the old days. Tournaments will be held in restaurant basements. It's going to be cash entry only, and Project M is going to be there, end quote. Another quote is, what everyone had feared has happened. And other reactions, meanwhile, took issues with the 200-person cap for in-person tournaments. And yeah, there's a bunch of Twitter posts regarding all that. And another serious issue was raised by streamer Araya on Twitter, which specifically concerns the restriction of game consoles, accessories, and software not licensed by Nintendo. As she pointed out, that would exclude third-party accessories that are used to make tournaments more accessible for gamers with disabilities. So she pointed that out on Twitter. Even as much of the Smash community is shocked, however, some have pointed out that the guidelines aren't too dissimilar from those in other professionally licensed esports. Others, meanwhile, have noted the controversies in the past that may have sparked Nintendo's push to exert more control over tournaments that involves its games. Regardless, it's another significant update in the long-running rift between Nintendo and its competitive community. So, I have with me the community tournament guidelines. Now, this is in America, by the way. So, they talked about some of the things I highlighted. So, I'm going to, go through some of these real quick. And this is going to be in effective on November 15th, by the way, of this year. So, check this out. The community tournament is small scale and not for commercial profit. Community tournament may not generate, we read that part already. Tournaments may include the 200 in-person, 300 online. And then, oh, here we go. Check this out. Organizers that have reached the legal age of majority in their jurisdiction may collect entry fees from participants in an amount not more than the equivalent of $20, that's USD, per person. Entry fees collected from participants may be used for covering the cost of organizing the tournament and towards prizing. Organizers that have reached the legal age of majority in a jurisdiction may provide goods and services to participants as prizes. No prize may exceed a market value of $5,000 in total, that's USD again, or include the prohibited items outlined in Q17 below. We'll look at that in a second. The total value of cash prizing a single organizer can offer through community tournaments in a 12-month period must be no more than the equivalent of $10,000, again, that's USD. Now, this is for in-person community tournaments. Organizers that have reached the legal age of majority in a jurisdiction may collect an admission fee from spectators of not more than the equivalent of $15 per person. Administration fees collected from spectators must be used solely for the purpose of covering costs of organizing the tournament and may not use towards prizing. Interesting. Collection fees from spectators for online community tournaments is not permitted under any circumstances. Organizers, and then, that's it for under the whole in-person community tournaments regarding spectators. Moving on. Organizer collecting fees must publicly disclose all the accounting. Okay, we read that already. Basically, they got to announce it to the world. When hosting a community tournament, organizers may not receive goods, services, money, etc. from third parties as sponsors. Only with the prior consent from participants can organizers monetize posting of videos, still images, etc. related to community tournaments on personal accounts in line with the Nintendo game content guidelines for online video and information sharing platform. That's still a thing? Okay. The total amount of revenue a single organizer earned in a 12-month period through these activities should be no more than the equivalent of $10,000. Moving on. The tournament may use Nintendo game footage or images under the following conditions. Organizers may show footage of tournament gameplay at in-person community tournaments venues for games officially launched by Nintendo. Organizers may use capture footage or screenshots of Nintendo games for any announcements, materials of the community tournaments, so long as the game has officially launched. The community tournament is not affiliated with Nintendo and make no use of Nintendo trademarks or IP except as permitted by these guidelines. And here's the 3 bulletins underneath that one. Community tournaments may not falsely imply Nintendo is associated with, sponsoring, or otherwise affiliated with the event and may not be presented as official or endorsed by Nintendo. Okay, that kind of makes sense because, which even though that makes sense, there's still an issue with that, but we'll get more on that in a second. The names of community tournaments may not contain Nintendo trademarks or IP such as Nintendo's company name, logo, product, or service names such as game titles, names adopted for Nintendo games such as character names. This includes any shortened or modified use of Nintendo trademarks or IP. So, if you want to call it the Super Mario tournament, you can't call it, apparently you can't call it the SM tournament. Oh, that's funny. That's why I'm assuming that what that means, something like that, as an example. Okay, let's move on. Other than referencing the game name to indicate which game is being played at the community tournament, community tournaments may not make use of Nintendo trademarks or IP, including logos and characters, as a part of community tournament activity. Okay, moving on. The games used must have been officially launched or service has officially begun in the region where the community tournaments is taking place. So, this is interesting. So the two bulletins underneath that are the following. Pirated or modified versions of Nintendo games must not be used. Games with online play must use the online gameplay services and or servers officially provided by Nintendo. The organizers post the following notice on site and on tournament websites and other promotional materials. And then two bulletins underneath that. There's a lot of stuff here, but we almost done though. Nintendo is not a sponsor of or affiliated with this tournament. That's in quotation marks. So apparently you have to post that. And you have to post the next one. Tons for participating in and viewing community tournaments using Nintendo games. And then that's the quote right there. Then they continue on by saying, accompanied with the following URL. And they posted the URL right there. Moving on to the next one. The organizer adheres to the following additional stipulations. And there's about 6 bulletins. So check this out. Organizers are responsible for ensuring community tournaments comply with all applicable laws, including but not limited to protection of personal information for participants and spectators and appropriate parental consent for minors. Organizers must ensure the help and... Okay, that's both of those. Okay, those, no issues there. Moving on. Organizers will make full efforts to create a community tournament that is friendly and welcoming to all. Okay, that makes sense, obviously. So there's no harassment or discrimination. That's not allowed. That makes sense. Organizers will not permit gambling or the use of alcohol or drugs. Okay, that makes sense. Organizers will make sure that participants and spectators are of age according to the applicable age rating for the game used in the tournament. So if you're trying to host a Mortal Kombat tournament on the Switch, I don't know why anybody would do that. There better not be any kids in spectating or competing. So that's what that means. For the use of any intellectual property rights owned by a third party, organizers must obtain permission from those rights owners separately from these guidelines. Okay, moving on to the last one. In addition, Nintendo games may not be used for community tournaments that, and then there's got like, 7 bulletins that are illegal or inappropriately conducted or could be viewed as offensive or otherwise inappropriate as further described in Q16 below. Fail to protect the health, safety, and dignity of participants. Okay, that makes sense. And then we got have sponsor or that advertise or promote any entity, products, or services, promote any campaigns or initiatives based on personal or organized opinions, ideologies, or beliefs. That makes sense. Include anything that damages the values of the Nintendo brand and intellectual property. Fail to follow these guidelines. That's actually in there. Involve anything that Nintendo's deemed okay, that's like subjective, but yeah, there's that. Oh, this is so funny. Okay, now here's the thing I'm interested in. Nintendo reserves the right to take legal action against or cancel any community tournaments in its sole discretion, including any tournaments that violates or are likely to violate these guidelines or community tournaments that Nintendo otherwise deem inappropriate. In addition, we may take measures such as prohibiting individuals who violate these guidelines or engage in other inappropriate acts from hosting tournaments in the future. Okay, that's funny. Let's see. And then everything else is like, okay, whatever. And then they have a FAQ. So we're not going to go over that. Okay. Now, I'm not an expert on hosting tournaments, attending these video game tournaments and things of that nature. Now, I will admit, I did compete in a Street Fighter tournament one time that GameStop was hosting. So I have done that once, and I did fairly well for the store that I was in. I made it to the semis, and then I lost to the guy who eventually won the entire thing at that specific store. Even though, like, we went to 5 rounds, but it was close. But yeah, but that's beside the point. I'm not an expert when it comes to these tournaments, but I'll be honest, man. A lot of what I read sounds like bullshit to me. I'll be honest. It really, really does. Because my thing is this. Nintendo is not making money from any of these tournaments. And the question is, why in the hell do they care this much about what these people do regarding these tournaments? Now, the larger scales ones, like, I don't get it. I hope somebody can educate me on this. I truly don't know because, like I said, I'm not an expert. I never done anything like this. I never been involved in any tournaments like this outside of participating in one Smash tournament, and also I did not Smash, Street Fighter tournament, and I did participate in a few Pokemon Go tournaments, and I plan on going to regionals to participate in one next year. But outside of those, I don't get it. Like, why is Nintendo so bent out of shape about people hosting tournaments? I don't get it. It makes no sense to me. They got limit on the amount of money that you can make from these tournaments. They talk about you can't have sponsors for these tournaments. I'm like, why not? What's the big deal? I don't get it. Like, this is one of those examples where I said Nintendo takes one step forward, but 5 steps backwards. This is one of those. Some of the things they said when the guidelines make sense about, oh, no discrimination, no harassment, stuff like that. But that's obvious. And then, but like, I just don't get it. I really, really don't get it. And again, there's some people say, oh, I agree with this, blah, blah, blah. Other people, other companies do this all the time. And if that's the case, I don't get it. Why do they do this? I truly don't get it. Like, Nintendo have a really bad habit of going out of their way to try and protect their image. Like, remember, I talked about how people was creating ROMs for their old games that Nintendo, you know gooder than real, are not gonna do anything with it. But Nintendo hit them up, so like, nope, you gotta stop that. I talked about how Nintendo went after a guy who posted images from a magazine that was only released in Japan back in 1996. And Nintendo went up to them and be like, nope, you gotta take those images down. Like, I don't get it. I don't get it. Why is Nintendo so like they basically so bent out of shape about their image that badly? It makes no sense to me. And it's now gotten to this. Like, it's at the point where they don't want their image to be that bad to the point where they're now hitting up like the people who wanted their tournaments. And to be honest, it's really the Smash. Like, out of all the Nintendo games, it's really the Smash Bros. Series, the Smash Bros. Franchise that is like really getting hit up. Because let's be honest, you know, like you can still host a tournament without a license, but if you're trying to do like a large one, you need a license. But I'm not an expert, but the main Smash game that people like to host tournament for, in-person tournaments for, is Melee. It's Melee. That's like, again, to me, the first one is my favorite one, but the main one that people like to do tournaments for is Melee. That's the main one. And last time I checked, again, I could be wrong with this, but the last time I checked, that joint ain't online. That joint is in person. That joint's on the not crappy, but overrated GameCube. And yet, Nintendo trying to go after people who trying to host tournaments for Melee? Like, it makes no sense. It really makes no sense. I don't get it. It makes no sense. If somebody gets it, can you please explain to me? Because, again, I'm at a loss of words to this one. I don't get it. I don't understand it. Nintendo need to, not keep up. They need to get with the times and just chill, man. Not everybody and their mama is trying to damage Nintendo's reputation. Nintendo has been in this game, no pun intended, for too damn long. I don't get it. And Nintendo is a beloved franchise too. It makes this even worse. It's a beloved franchise because they got the Nintendo fanboys. People are buying like 2-3 copies of Switches. You know, the special edition. I got 2 myself. I got 2 versions of Switches myself. I got the Mario joint, and I'm looking at my Pokemon Scarlet and Violet joint right here. I'm literally touching it right now. So I don't get it. I don't freaking get it. So they just need to chill with the protection of their own image. Like I said, it's one thing if people are like taking the ROMs and selling them. Like, hey, we got Super Mario RPG on sale, and it's a bootleg or a third party. That's different. I can understand that. If somebody want to make their own Joy-Cons and sell it, I can understand that. But for hosting tournaments on in person, I don't care, in person, online, and Nintendo not making money from it, because when was the last time? Like, again, I could be wrong with this. I don't know, but when's the last time Nintendo themselves hosted a tournament? Like, I'm pretty sure some of you guys can tell me, but when was the last time they hosted a tournament? Like, I have not heard of Nintendo hosting a tournament ever. Like I said, I could be wrong with this because, again, I'm not exactly an expert in this, but it's not like Nintendo is hosting their own tournaments. So why in the hell are they tripping? I don't get it. I truly don't get it. I don't understand it. It makes no sense to me, and I think it's stupid. So that's my thoughts on that. Like, if you have any information on why Nintendo act like that with their tournaments, with not even theirs, it's not even their tournaments, but with these tournaments and things of that nature, please let me know in the comment section below. Please let me know in the comment section below, because this is making no sense to me. And I'm gonna call it a wrap. So with all that said, y'all know who this is. This is boy New Jig Ass Beat, aka New Stephen A. Smith, saying peace out, y'all, and I'll see y'all next time. Yeah.